folks, it's Swank Ivy with another Letters to an Asexual. This is 76? 76. So I'm extremely tired and I'm very behind on many of the things that I have been saying I will do. Most notably, I'm very behind on all forms of interpersonal communication. I haven't been answering a lot of my comments or emails or Facebook messages or whatever, so I apologize if you're one of the people who has contacted me and you haven't received a reply. But related to that, I'm going to be addressing a comment that I invited someone to share an issue with me by email, and I never got around to answering it. But I've been digging through my inbox, and I've gotten back to like October or something last year, either answering or deleting stuff that I needed to address. And I found this comment and I'm like, oh yeah, I did say I was going to talk about this. So if you didn't know, in some circles this week right now is being considered Aromantic Awareness Week. I believe it's a week. See how up I am as an ace community and aro leader. Ugh, I'm failing. So anyway, to get to the point, so a while back I received something that is very specific to an aromantic concern, that it happens to be the perfect time that I rediscovered that this was in my inbox. So I'm not 100% sure that this was intended to be like pitched as a letter for me to read, but it does say, can you discuss this on your channel? So I figure I'll just go ahead and read it, and my apologies if that was not really the intent, but I don't see anything too personal going on in here. So it's a question about whether, as an aromantic, asexual person, this person wants to know if they should enter a relationship. And here's the text. It says, I am an aro-ace male that needs to make a decision on whether or not I should enter a relationship with someone. I don't desire a relationship or intimacy for myself, but I constantly see posts in asexual Facebook groups posted by lonely aces, looking and unable to find a compatible partner. I feel awful, helpless, about their inability to find a partner or online relationship. The couple people I told about this in person think I shouldn't try to help, as I won't be able to give them the love they desire, yet I feel I might still be able to help them out, since I am also ace and single. I've been married but never really was in love, and am 44 years old, so I'm reasonably confident that my aromanticism won't change or develop for someone in a way it might for a demi-romantic person. Can I please get another viewpoint from you or a discussion about this on your channel? I empathize with these people, but it pains me to see them expressing their suffering on a regular basis. So this is complicated. You might be surprised to hear that, I mean, my kind of knee-jerk reaction to that is you shouldn't get into a relationship unless it's something you intrinsically want. And I think that's kind of the soul of my overall advice for anything. If you do not have a particular desire for something that is part of who you are or something that you truly want, that it's not necessarily a healthy move to say, well, I can provide this service to someone else. But on the other hand, there are a lot of relationships that are not traditional in many ways, and let's put it this way. I've seen successful asexual and non-asexual relationships where maybe the ace person does not desire their partner sexually. Maybe they don't have the sexual attraction, but they have the romantic attraction. And you can't just say, well, that'll never work, because a person who is sexually attracted to others will always want the other person to be sexually attracted back. That's not always true, and sometimes they can find a good compromise. So, you know, if an aromantic person, for some reason other than romantic attraction, wants to be in a romantic relationship, I mean, you're going to be looking at some need for very specific communication to make sure that that works, and you have to be very upfront about it. But not every relationship is the way that they talk about it in movies. Not everybody feels the same about their partner that the partner feels about them. And as long as everybody's okay with that, it's not necessarily a terrible thing to say, you know, I'm never going to romantically love you the way you seem to want to be loved, but if they're getting other things out of that partnership, it is possible that that could work. However, I don't feel that pitying a person or seeing that they're hurting is a good motivation to get into a relationship with that person, not only because there might not automatically be compatibility, but because so many people do want, say, monogamous relationships, and you can kind of only do that for one or two people, maybe, you know, a couple of people at a time. You can only provide, you know, if you're willing to have non-monogamous relationships, you can maybe a few more. There's still going to be a limited number of people that you can help by kind of like offering your services, so to speak. And ultimately, there's always going to be people that you can't show up and say, hey, I'll be your partner. You want a partner, and it makes me really sad that you can't seem to find somebody, so I'll be your partner. But wanting them to be happy is not the same thing as being able to be their partner. And I feel like if it's a relationship that's kind of based on an understanding that they have a hole in their life, they have a need, it's not necessarily that you couldn't fill it, it's that you can't do it for everyone. So if your main motivation is pity or just really just wanting people that you see hurting to stop hurting, you kind of have to get to a point where you understand that you can't always be their answer. There's always going to be people out there that you have to watch suffering, and you can't just offer yourself as the answer for all of this. If I go back in my early dating history, both of the relationships that I had with other people in high school that were romantic relationships were the other person's idea, and I said yes because I knew that they wanted me. Some of it was early experimentation. Some of it was like, I guess I've never done this, I've never been in this situation, I guess I owe it a try. That's not really true. I don't owe it a try unless I desire it, but you know, there was something about it that I felt like I wanted to do for some reason. And I found very quickly that I felt pretty trapped, and it ended up being more harmful for everybody involved when I realized that this was not something that I desired. I was doing it because the other person wanted me to want it, but I didn't want to be there. I wanted them to be happy, and that wasn't the same thing as being their answer. I think there are other ways that you can also be there for a person who is hurting. It doesn't help to repeat platitudes that one day they'll find the one, because they might not, and especially for people like us who have a limited dating pool because of our unusual needs and lack thereof, some would say. Ace people sometimes do struggle with a smaller dating pool and particular dating issues with, if they try to make mixed relationships work, or if they struggle with having so few asexual people to date. But this might seem like kind of a strange comparison, but if you've ever heard of like certain kinds of kinky or fetish or certain arrangements kind of relationships, like, say, again, this is going to sound really weird to some people, but it's like the sugar daddy and sugar baby kind of communities, where I guess the idea is that one person is having their material needs provided by somebody who's affluent enough to do that, and the understanding is that that person, in exchange for material gifts and being paid for, having their life paid for in some way, will return with the intimacy that person wants, usually understood to be sexual. And I guess the stereotype a lot of times is it's an older man and a younger woman, and they have this arrangement. It's like, okay, I want material gifts and financial security, and you want me to be your arm candy and have sex with you. And it's like, that's, a lot of people would call that an unbalanced or a messed up kind of relationship. But I feel like if everybody involved knows what they're doing, they know that's what they want, there's really no shame in saying, this is what I want. This is what I want out of this. And it doesn't matter if the other person necessarily wants the same thing. The only problem is a lot of times those things don't work out super well because everybody wants to have their cake and eat it too. Like, they might say, oh, I don't need all of this other stuff, but then they'll still get jealous or frustrated if it doesn't automatically come with it. And that's kind of what happened to me when I tried to redefine a relationship that I didn't want to be romantic, but the other person said, like, I just want to, be your boyfriend. I just want you to call me your boyfriend and you be my girlfriend and stuff. Nothing has to change about the physical nature of our relationship. I know you don't want that. And I was like, well, I guess if that's the case, then we basically already are, because I cared about the person. God knows why now that I think about it, but, there's a lot of messed up stuff going on between us. And it wasn't very long before, he got that promise out of me that, I'd be good with this and I'd have a relationship that we'd call it by these terms. It wasn't long at all before he was sulking that I didn't want to sleep with him, or all the other girls that he's, dated are always faster to be interested in him, or don't I want to try this? Why don't I understand how lonely he is? Why don't I understand that if he's dating me, he can't pursue others? And I'm like, this was your idea, dude. Why is it suddenly changing into all this other stuff? So, let's put it this way. With a lot of communication, you can make these unusual relationships work sometimes if you and your partner have very different needs, but you have an understanding. But the status quo is very strong, and it tends to make people still feel like they're failing in their relationship if they're not achieving this movie version of love. If their relationship doesn't look like what it's supposed to look like in all of the fairy tales. So it's very possible, especially with those of us who are aromantic, if we chance getting into a relationship, especially with someone that has very different needs than us, we could end up hurting ourselves, we could end up hurting the other person, we could just end up wasting our time. And, ultimately we just have to also be very honest with ourselves. Like, do I want this, or do I just want them to have someone? And, how willing to be that someone am I? Do I really want the rest of my future with this person to be based on me just realizing that they were lonely or they needed some help? And you can still be compassionate and you can still be there for those people without being the person that fills the shoes that you want, that person wants to have filled. You can support them in many other ways and still be a positive influence in their life and not feel like you're failing them as a friend or as a person by not being able to fill those shoes. But again, I don't necessarily feel like it absolutely can't work. If your love doesn't work that way, it doesn't necessarily mean there can't be something. Bottom line is, relationships can be very, very complicated, and I feel like the people that are outside of the relationship that we're talking about can't tell you what it is or should be. And the most important thing is just listening to what you intrinsically want. Listen to yourself about, what do I desire about this? What am I going to achieve for myself and mutually with the other person or people that we all want, that I want? What kind of sacrifices am I going to be making to make this arrangement work? Am I willing to do that? Will I eventually resent what's going on? And if my goal is to give them something that they want, how can I be sure that that something is really me? So personally, I am not the kind of aromantic person who would be comfortable with being in any romantic relationship. If the person had romantic feelings toward me, I would not feel comfortable being in a relationship with them that, that I was absorbing their romantic attraction and was not returning it. I feel like there would always be this feeling like they would still be hoping I'd switch on or something and that I would be eternally disappointing them. I think it would be really hard for me to believe them if they said that they didn't expect or want that, which is why I prefer to have relationships that are friendships. In our society, we do have a lot of problems with the way that we view friendship, but at least we can say it's versatile. At least we can have a little more understood freedom and automatic freedom to define it how we want to and what works for us. And people question it a lot less and act like you're weird a lot less and make you question yourself a lot less in friendships. So the only trouble is when they get very close, people just start asking when you're going to get married. So I don't know. I kind of feel like I talked in circles a little bit, saying maybe you should, but maybe you shouldn't. But the real answer is that somebody outside the relationship can't really answer it for you, and all I can do is encourage you to really talk to yourself about what you desire and whether something about this kind of relationship would do something for you that you're currently lacking, or at least feel that you would be enhanced by somehow. Because if you're just stepping up to fulfill what you perceive to be a need in someone else and it's not adding anything to you, I feel like most important relationships really do make more than the sum of their parts. They really do create something unusual together and something to treasure together. And if all you really feel like you're doing is performing a service, I feel like human relationships are on a slightly different level than that. It's not the same as you showed up to cook dinner for someone or you showed up to clean their house. It's like you don't just show up to perform the service of someone's romantic partner because they needed one, without having anything of yourself really invested on the same level to the extent that you can as an aromantic person. And aromantic people have a lot of different kinds of love that they can offer, and they're not lesser necessarily. I mean, some of them can be, because anybody can offer lesser amounts or forms of love, but aromantic people have plenty to offer. It's just that you don't necessarily need to call it a romantic partner, and it could very well be that some of the people who feel that they really want a romantic partner but they don't have a specific person in mind, they just really want to have this partnership, some of them could also be dealing with the expectations of like, oh my god, I'm going to be lonely and sad if I don't find someone, I'm obligated to find someone because otherwise I'm a failure. Or they may just have certain needs that they're assuming only a romantic partner can fill, and they may be wrong about that. So hopefully some of these perspectives are helpful in some way. I'm sure it just sounds really complicated because it really is complicated. Anyway, yeah, I think if I say anything else about this, I'll probably end up reiterating something I already said, so why don't I just go ahead and end this one here. And anyway, if you are an aromantic person or you're an aromantic ally, this is our week, and you know, not a lot gets talked about aromanticism, so I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of content comes out this week and reading some of the articles, reading some of the commentary. And on a personal note, I really hope that I dig myself out of this communication lull pretty soon, but it's been ongoing for such a long time that I just don't know at what point I will be able to claim success. So anyway, I guess I'll just see y'all next time. Thank you for watching me.